Welcome you all to our collective calls that we hold on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today's Tuesday, and we're happy to start today's week with a productive call. We have three projects for today to pitch and answer the Q&A, so you know the usual drills. Let me introduce them real quick. Firstly, we got a project called Q Protocol, representing by Martin and Ute. Then we got a future learner, a CEO here, AD, to present his project. And lastly, but not leastly, founder of StablePay, Akhilesh, is here to present the project as well. So guys, if you're first time here, let me remind you the rules, how we usually hold such calls. So all the speakers, you have 5 minutes for the pitch part and roughly 10 minutes for the Q&A section. We'll add timer for the convenience sake, and participants, if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the chat or raise your hand. It works for us both ways. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. Be sure to check out your sharing settings, camera settings, and etc. Be really professional. And yeah, thank you so much for coming. So let's start with Martin and Q Protocol. Can't wait to hear you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Passing the mic to you.
So let's go. So beyond code is law. You've probably all heard the term code is law, which in crypto has been kind of a mantra for a long time, but maybe you haven't heard the term beyond code is law yet, because we're going to change this mantra code is law, not because we don't like code is law at Q, but we think it's lacking some really important elements that you need to make crypto really useful and to bring it to the next level. Because essentially what we've found, and this is kind of the background to why a protocol like Q exists at all, is that 90% or probably actually a lot more of human activity depends on subjective rules. I'm going to come to that in a minute, what that means. The easiest way to actually explain that is that blockchains only support deterministic rules, or objective rules. So if this then that, you have a certain rule, you encode it, it's deterministic, you know exactly what happens under specific circumstances. But human activity, human economic activity, is much more nuanced, much more broad, and currently not really supported by blockchains. And we are about to change that. So just giving a couple of examples concretely what that means or where that is relevant. We have a list here on the left-hand side of the presentation giving a few examples. I'm just going to run you through the first few of them. So think of a DeFi protocol where you have protocol parameters like interest rates, like what is an eligible asset. Those are typically subjective rules, meaning that you don't want to hard code them, and also you can't put them into a formula that works under all circumstances, which is why most DeFi protocols have DAOs behind them with some kind of mechanism how those subjective rules are determined. What Q does is it takes those processes and makes them more secure. Now, another example, the second one here on the list, is protocol upgrades. So you have immutable smart contract code, you have immutable protocols. For most protocols, you don't really want that because you want them to evolve over time. And then the question is, who decides about protocol upgrades? Who decides what the right way to go forward is? In Bitcoin or other layer ones, that's often forking. But that doesn't really work in DeFi, it doesn't work in many other circumstances. So again, there you have subjective rules that you want to follow that you cannot encode. Lastly, DAOs. Obviously DAOs are, as you all know, pretty much governed by humans. You have different mechanisms, you have token holder voting, you have delegation and so on. But ultimately, the only reason why you need that is that you cannot encode certain rules in a deterministic way. This is why you have these governance mechanisms, and they have subjective elements. And looking, for example, at any DAO, take Arbitrum DAO. In there, they have a constitution. They say that Arbitrum is Ethereum aligned, but then the question is, what does it actually mean? Who decides what is Ethereum aligned and what isn't? Those are rules. Those are subjective. They need to be interpreted. If you just leave it up to humans without a governance system around it, it becomes vulnerable, it can be attacked, and this is where governance attacks, as you've probably heard of, come in, and they make the whole system less secure, and this is what we are trying to change with Q. So moving on to the right-hand side of this slide, just conceptually you can view Q as being on the basic base layer, basically, of crypto, meaning that you have transaction security, which is provided by layer one blockchains, or by, if you break it down into the modular stack, different, L1s, L2s, DA layer, and so on. What we do with Q is we provide this base layer security, but for subjective rules. And now the question is obviously, how do we do that? This is very rough sketch of how it is done. You have three elements in the governance process. You have what we call the constitution, which is just a rule set that actually works as a legal contract that defines the rules that are subjective, only those that you cannot encode. Then you have a system which is depicted here in the middle, with different token holders with different nodes in the systems that fulfill different roles, which actually have the capability to interpret the rules and enforce the rules based on this interpretation. And there is a number of checks and balances in the system to make sure that it is really hard to corrupt. Lastly, on top of that, you have an arbitration mechanism that ensures that if there is a dispute that cannot be resolved within the system itself, then you have a way of resolving those conflicts and actually come to a conclusion of the disputes at hand without actually, and this is very important, without needing to rely on traditional nation state based legal systems. So what we're trying to do here is...
Martin, I'm sorry, the time's already out. Half a minute more and that's it.
Okay, cool. I'll jump over the next two slides and just give you last half minute, just a quick view of the ecosystem, which is growing, which is vibrant. And then maybe in the Q&A, we can also jump into what Q is doing in the AI space. Very exciting aspect of current work that's being done. And apologies for being slightly over time. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed it and hope you have questions.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much, Martin, for the pitch part. It was interesting, but still we got more questions to ask. So obviously in the Q&A, you'll be telling more about this project, I'm pretty sure. Can't wait for your questions, guys. Feel free to leave them in the chat. Mind the way, we post all the contact details in the chat, so be sure to check it out. If you want to connect after the call, just scroll up and find all the contact details. So yeah, we already received one question. Let me read that. How do you see AI changing the governance landscape in crypto? Will it just make things faster, or will it introduce new challenges we haven't thought of yet?
Yeah, great question. So the answer is both. So on the one hand, AI will help us actually make governance faster and more secure. So if you think about current DAO structures where you have delegates that need to go through a lot of information, process a lot of data to make their decisions in a meaningful way, a lot of that can be supported by AI. Also the onboarding process, which is something that we're currently doing, can be greatly sped up and just made much easier, much more convenient with the help of AI. That's the one end of the spectrum. On the other hand of the spectrum, you have the governance of the AI itself, which causes a whole set of new questions that is really interesting. So how do you make sure that AI agents, for example, actually do what they're supposed to do, which is typically they should serve the humans that created them, or that they were created for, and not kind of turn into a Skynet dystopian sci-fi nightmare scenario. And that's the whole question of where does governance for AI fit in. So that's a very exciting topic that also we're looking at and working at with Q, or within the Q community.
Thank you so much for answering that. We got another question popped in just yet. Does Q need to customize governance services for each of your clients?
You can, you don't have to. So there is a set of standardized off-the-shelf governance services, as we call them, that you just can use basically off the shelf without any customization. But the system itself is very versatile. So you can also set up your bespoke governance system and get support by the Q protocol to enforce your governance.
Perfect. Thank you for answering this as well. I also have a question, Martin, if you don't mind. who are your competitors? So are there any comparable projects to Q?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Really, we find that what we're doing with Q is quite new. So there are no really direct competitors, pure play competitors right now. But there are a bunch of projects which I would consider in a similar space, so which try to make these enforcements of subjective rules a reality in crypto. So Claros, good friends of ours, is one that is working in the space, has been working in the space for a long time, but also newer protocols like, Eigenlayer, for example, is now moving more towards subjective rule enforcement, which I think is a great development because it's really, I think, the frontier of crypto.
Yeah, can I ask? Thank you for the pitch, Martin. What's the function of the Q token in the Q ecosystem?
Great question. So the Q token, or QGov token, as the ticker is, has three main functions within the ecosystem. So one, it's Q itself is built out as a layer one. It's EVM compatible, but it does, the protocol does have its own blockchain, and QGov tokens are the native currency. So it's required for validation of the protocol, just as in Ethereum you have Ether. Secondly, it's used as a medium of exchange within the ecosystem. And thirdly, and maybe most importantly, it's also used for protocols that pay for governance services, which I think is quite unique. So you have an internal economy in the ecosystem that uses the QGov token, and protocols that receive what we call shared governance security pay for the security with a QGov token.
Okay, thank you. And Q is connected to other ecosystems, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So while Q is a separate blockchain, there are bridges to other blockchains. So there is a bridge to Ethereum, but also other ecosystems. So most recently, we've integrated with ICP Chain Fusion, which basically via ICP connects Q to currently, pretty much probably all EVM based blockchains, L1s, L2s, and in the future also other ecosystems like Solana.
Okay, got you. Yeah, thank you so much, Martin.
I have just last question and we're good to go, hopefully. So, Martin, where do you see the biggest potential for Q in like short, maybe long term? So where do you see the place of Q in the like global scale?
So in the short term, I would say the whole DAO space just really needs a whole governance reform. I would say we've seen that token holder voting combined with delegation, as it's practiced by most DAOs, really doesn't work all that well. Opens up the DAOs to a lot of governance attack vectors. So that's, to me, in the short term, the biggest opportunity. So like I said, things like protocol upgrades, also treasury management in DAOs is a big topic. In the long term, the thing that I'm really excited about, which today is still very early, but I think it's going to be huge, is the whole topic of, I guess, what you would call network states or independent states kind of forming outside of nation state jurisdictions. So really what we are doing, the big vision here is creating separate private legal systems, and it's probably going to take a bit, but that's one area that's extremely exciting in the long term.
Right. Thank you so much, Martin, for answering all those questions. It was a pleasure having you on this call. Wishing you best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're moving on. There is a second project here and a third one. So obviously now it's time for the second one. And so who's going to be the next, Malika?
Let's go with Akhilesh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, Akhilesh. Are you here?
Hey, Malika and Heman. Thanks to the second contestant, like giving me a chance, because I have another call in the next 30 minutes. And without wasting your time, I'd like to introduce myself and my venture. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so I'm Akhilesh and I'm developer by profession, and I'm building a StablePay. So StablePay moves global B2B cross-border remittance payment faster using stablecoins and settling in fiat. So what problem we are solving? We are solving a problem like international business payments, especially in emerging markets. So they face high processing fees and a low banking support and long settlement days. And like I would like to give you an example. So talking about the example that I mentioned, the physics. So suppose a payment, B2B payment that is moved from like Mexico to Vietnam or US to Japan. Okay, so it would touch more than 4 or more intermediaries at each step for the receiver country and for the sender country also. So like if a garment manufacturer based in Mexico, he would send a payment to local bank, he wants to send to Vietnam. Okay, so the first payment will touch to local bank and the Mexican pesos, then correspondent bank in the Mexican pesos, and then correspondent bank of a sender country will convert into US dollars as it's globally monitored and globally accepted, and then they will convert it to Vietnamese country, Vietnamese dong. Okay, so all these things happen at each level, and these people, these intermediaries create a risk for the failure for the payment. And as the more intermediaries are involved, so they take in high fees and they justify these fees in the name of convenience fee and a fraud protection fees. Okay, so for greater than 4 intermediaries are involved, each takes its own cut and create the risk for the failure for the payment and hidden charges like fraud protection and convenience fee. So what's the solution? Here's the how big actually is the problem. So the 3 map shows what actually our target geography is. So we are targeting US and EU and UK. So it's an estimated number in US. US has more than 34.8 million in SMEs, and over a quarter of them doesn't receive their payment in 30 days. 23 days is average for them. 48% lower their staffing budget due to the high cost of international payments, employing more than 61.7 million Americans. 49% would enter new markets if international payments were cost were reduced, and 59% would increase price of their goods and services due to the high cost of international payments. And situation is much more worse in EU. Okay, so and talking about the UK specifically, 50,000 businesses close every year, hitting 2.5 billion in pound, a unique dent to the UK economy. 275 billion per year in pounds in the late payments, and it's more than the an annual GDP of Finland and Germany and in France. 60% SMEs in Europe face the late payments, and they chase SMEs, they chase like 1.5 hours per day, and that is more than 3.5 hours a week. And if you calculate annually, it's more than 900,000 hours. 45 days is an average for businesses in France and Singapore to receive the payment. So what's the solution? Solution is a StablePay, built for businesses and individuals, B2B, merchant, vendors, SMEs, MSMEs, and for the B2C, we have a remittance category. The fiat currency is converted to stable coins. Sender can fund his wallet, it's converted into stable coins, and then he can transact anywhere. Receiver gets the stable coins, and then he can transact in his fiat currency. So as what the uniqueness is like, using the blockchain, transactions are settled within less than 10 seconds, and involving a digital currency fastens the payment by 99% than regular ways. What compared to where the payment was moving from days to seconds. Okay, and settling takes a day. So imagine a world where the financial system is more open and connected across continents. Payments are fast, trackable, and nearly free. So example, when talking about the remittance payments, so suppose if you send a $200 from US to Colombia with the current method, this would cost you like more than $12.13. But if you use the stablecoin technology or a blockchain, that would cost you like less than 0.01 in transaction fees, 0.01 cents in transaction fees. Okay, so remittance users had to send money regardless of a transaction cost because their whole family is dependent on that money, and remittance fees is much more higher, like 8 to 13% in Africa, and it's more than 6% is an average for in global economy. Currency, and we are working on to embed a currency exchange, so person or a receiver or funder or a sender doesn't has to go to another exchange to swap his currency of a USDC or USDT to another to get a fiat in his bank account. Markets are global and diversified as another internet marketplaces. It's open to all. And what's the process of StablePay? I have explained earlier. And what is stable coins? As stable coins are backed by $1 to $1 US dollars, they have a USDC and USDT, and in European Union we have a EURC. And in the previous week, UAE accepted stable coins as a legal commodity of exchange. Singapore has its own stable coins, so it's easily cashable and convertible, available to transact in any of the blockchains, and that makes it completely safe and convenient to use. So as with stablecoin technology, we empower businesses to grow by expanding access to new customers. We free up working capital and maximize financial flexibility. We have provided customers with a non-custodial account, securely fund, store, and manage your money on stable coins. You are the master of your own wallet and or your own money, of your own money also. We are no longer with your account details and all these things. you're whole solely responsible for your accounts. You can accept payments a minute with digital currency and withdraw in your native currency. Send fast payouts to seller, vendors, or users can pay out workplace, and global reach with the stable coins. And stable coins, within launch of like less than 8 years, they have a reach of more than 180 countries. So we are raising the pre-seed round, and out of which 100K is committed. We have 15 plus businesses from US, UK, UAE, and European Union on our wait list. And we have a hard interest of like expression of interest letter from Qatar-based VC. They are willing to fund us about like 0.5 to 2 million on all these things. So I have started in December, and I have like worked on all these things. I have successfully tested my MVP on testnet, mainnet, and damnet, and I'm working more to get a app and a Chrome extension, which will be much more helpful for the businesses to like whether to download a simple app, they can use the Chrome extension. So this is all about me and my StablePay. And talking about my background, I'm a developer by profession, and I have been like working as an intern at Salesforce administrator, and found usability bugs, at 3 bugs in the usability category on booking.com, and 1 usability bug in the YouTube studio. And I have worked at a startup called Goldnest, a startup where I led the development of prototype and even pitched at top institutions of India like IIT Roorkee and IIM Lucknow. And then it ended with getting a 100K equity offer from TechBricks. So, and I have also partnered with top, working at Goldnest, I worked with top APIs of top gold companies.
I'm gonna stop you with that. Thank you so much, but
Sure.
the time's already out. Obviously, you can expand and elaborate on more topics in the Q&A section. We got limited
Sure.
time here, so, and especially you have limited time. So yeah, let's start the Q&A right now. Guys, feel free to leave your questions in the chat. Be sure to check out all the email and DG credentials up in the chat as well. And yeah, can't wait your questions. Okay, so while guys are waiting, let me be the first one addressing the question. So how do you ensure the stability and security with such big transactions? What's the catch here, basically?
So, like, question is really good. And talking about the more in the remote regions, like if you take the example of African continent, so they are more remotely, and they don't have enough talking about like if you took the example of Congo country, so as their currency is not as liquid as US dollars. So what the thing is, so suppose you get on board the wallet, you do a basic KYC, and all your currency will be swapped in terms of US dollars. So there's a no thing where person as blockchain based products have a readily accessible, and they have a wider accessibility, and they move within pace of word of mouth. So talking about remote regions, people can address these things. And firstly, as of our target, we are targeting the US customers. And talking about like remote customers, person who doesn't have a country which doesn't have an adequate good economy, then they can use in the terms of USDCs or USDT or CUSD or MUSD. It will be whole solely based on stable coins. And when it comes to getting their currency in their fiat, if Congo person wants to get his currency USDC in their fiat, we will be partnering with their local banks.
Thank you for addressing my question. We got 2 more in the chat, so let me read those. Real-time 10-second transactions sound great, but how do you make sure the process is seamless for both the sender and the receiver, especially in more remote regions?
Like I have answered about like more remote regions and sender and receiver. So as payments can be tracked, and we provide a unique ID for the transaction. So suppose if your name is Ivan, and you are sending a payment to Malika or Akhilesh, you can get an ID like Ivan@stablepay.com or Malika@stablepay.com, and then you can keep a track of all of your payments. And we definitely we are working on to get you a private blockchain. So suppose if you have a idea of your money getting theft on a public blockchain, you can definitely try to get your own you can use one of our private blockchains, so all your funds are secured on that thing. And next question is like KML,
what is your
KYC.
AML KYC solution for US customers?
So this is as regulatories are becoming more clear on the USDCs, AML is one of our, honestly, it's one of my main concern. And KYC is not a big deal. Know your customer or know your business is not a big deal, but AML is a big thing. And StablePay is poised to tackle all these things. So for talking about AML, StablePay will keep a track of payments. So suppose irregular payments. So suppose if the payment is moving at a $10,000 in every count of 30 minutes. So these are type of payments which are illicit, and these can gather the eyes of anyone. So we will be keeping a track of our customers. We will be keeping a credit or a transaction history. So suppose if I'm sending a payment and I'm doing in the email category, and I want to transact to some terrorist fund or all these things, and I'm doing a transaction of million and every 30 seconds. So definitely this will catch the eye of our AI or ML algorithm, and then we'll block the transaction.
What are your plans for scaling the project, considering the current market conditions?
And for the scaling the project, we are in talks with MENA-based banks. So as they are Sharia compliant and Islamic banks, so they don't take the interest. And as I mentioned in the deck, businesses receive the late payments for 23 days, but still they need to maintain their cash flow. And for that 23 days or 60 days, they want to run their business. So they need the cash. So we are working in, I'm looking to partner with the MENA-based banks. As they are Sharia compliant, they don't take the interest, and giving a short-term loan is our initiative with them. And scaling, I plan to scale in the next 5 years to different part of the globe, starting with the US, then LATAM has a greater adoption. We will be scaling to EU for B2B payments, and UK, and MENA is the biggest remittance market for globe. So this is my plan.
I see. Thank you so much, Akhilesh. It's all time we have for the Q&A. Wishing you best of luck with the project.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. It's been a pleasure. Guys, last but not least, definitely we got a project. It's called Future Learner, and we have CEO Eddie here to present it to you. So Eddie, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for waiting. And yeah, passing the mic to you.
Hi, how are you? Hang on, let me share the screen. Hi, I'm Eddie Ho, founders of futureslearner.ai. We combine AI and human supervision to deliver personalized, impactful learning for students 8 to 12. Take Derek, a 10-year-old stuck at 20% in math, despite his dad spending $1,000 a month on private tuition. Both were frustrated by the high cost and lack of progress. After joining futureslearner.ai, our AI pinpointed Derek's learning gap and provided a step-by-step curriculum. With real-time feedback and on-site supervision, his score soared to 80% within weeks, while his dad finally understood how to support him effectively. Derek's case isn't unique. 260 million students globally are disengaged in a one-size-fits-all system. Parents often paid $50 to $150 per hour for traditional tutoring, yet see limited improvement. FuturesLearner.ai solved this by offering AI-driven adaptive learning, continuous tracking, transparent update, and hands-on supervision, all for $25 an hour, bridging affordability, quality, and engagement. Let me show you how it works. In this demo, I'll showcase our AI tutor interacting with a student, communicating in different languages, discussing a student's progress with their parents, and seamlessly connecting through any instant messaging platform.
Hi, Candace. How's your day going? Let's start today's practice.
What are we going to learn today?
Today, we're going to dive into the world of negative numbers. I know you did great with addition, scoring 75%, so let's build on that.
你可以跟我说一下我如何进步我的算术吧？
当然可以, Candace.
AI avatar is able to chat with the parents' real-time assessment of their kid.
Hey there, have any questions about your kid's studies?
Please tell me the progress of Candace.
Candace has made steady progress, scoring 75% overall with notable improvement in pattern recognition.
Recommend me how should I train Candace at home?
Use our AI-tailored questions to help Candace practice multi-digit addition and subtraction effectively at home.
As you have just seen, we don't just rely on AI alone. We combine it with real-time insights for the parents and on-site supervision for the students. Our patent-pending AI algorithm, which grows smarter with every session, pinpoints knowledge gaps and tailored learning paths for students in real time. Our model is scalable, curriculum agnostic, and primed for global expansion. This approach aligns with a growing global demand. EdTech is poised to reach 404 billion by 2025, with Singapore tuition market alone value at 1.4 billion. Surveys confirm parents want both personalizations and affordability, while educators endorse our performance-focused model, pointing to a massive untapped opportunity. Here's how we're going to seize it. We charge $25 per hour with a 30 hours minimum, generating up to 1.437 million annually per center by serving 20 students in multiple daily sessions. Our AI keeps the overhead low and quality high, while licensing, premium content, and other diversified offerings unlock new revenue streams. Behind futureslearner.ai stands a visionary CEO certified in educational facilitation with deep expertise in AI and hands-on tuition experiences, a relentless CTO building scalable solutions, an infrastructure veteran ensuring glitch-free operations, an evangelist for holistic education who engages and converts parents. Together, we are poised for substantial growth and global impact. In summary, futureslearner.ai delivers an innovative, cost-effective, and highly impactful solution that transforms children's learning experience worldwide. To the students, we offer position. To the parents, transparency. To our competitor, we are formidable, and as a business, we are unstoppable. Thank you for your time and interest. We're seeking 1 million to launch 5 learning centers, targeting 250,000 billable hours annually at $25 per hour, with each center projected to generate 100,000 plus MRR within 12 months. I'm Eddie Ho. Let us transform educations together. Connect with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eddie, for being on time. Now to Q&A part, guys, feel free to leave your questions in the chat or raise your hand. Meanwhile, be sure to check out all the contact details that we posted in the chat as well. And yeah, can't wait to hear your questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eddie, for the pitch. While we are waiting, could you maybe explain how you're planning to distribute the money you are raising? And do you already have any backers?
So basically 50% of it, because what you have seen in the demo is just an MVP. So we're going to push the MVP into productions, whereas the rest, about 20% or 25% will be going to sourcing for the place in order to have the physical learning center. The rest will be for hiring as well as for reserve or for any usage of the hardware and software that is needed by the full process.
Okay, got you. Thanks. We've got some questions here in the chat. What's the biggest challenge you foresee when expanding to multiple subjects and languages, and how are you preparing for it?
So just to put a basis on this, we are curriculum as well as language agnostic, as you guys know about any AI models right now. So that solves a lot of problems about scalability to all the different countries. The only thing that may be of concern is the curriculum of the particular country. For example, Singapore is different from Malaysia. Malaysia is different from Thailand, etc. So we already proven and with the current MVP, because my daughter is the first test subject, I have already done the so-called Ministry of Education certifications of whatever curriculum is coming from, or the questions being generated for the students itself. So using the same playbook, I'm able to customize this for every single country that we are able to expand into.
Another question, good concept. How do you plan to use AI agents as mentors the next 3-5 years?
Oh, wow. That is like looking in the crystal ball, but we are already using agents. How we treat agents would be like the school admins or the school teacher that are doing all the back-end work. So just to give you a little bit of a concept of what is already been used, and then I'll answer you what I foresee as the next 3 to 5 years. So what is being used is basically we have an agent to assess, we have an agent to teach, we have an agent to adapt, we have an agent to be proactive, another agent to be reactive. So those are already in what the MVP is and waiting to be deployed into the production. Whereas for 3 to 5 years, basically you will because when I started this startup, I wanted to be totally AI centric. So you can see a lot of C-suite, that means CEO, COO, operation and whatever, but you will not see any middle managers, but you will see a lot of staff. So the middle manager part will be taken care by all the agents. Whether is it customer service, whether is it answering to the parents, whether is it doing all the scheduling and every single thing. So those will be what I foresee will improve when we move forward.
Thanks. Another question. Can you provide more details about the core edge of your products over the competitors? What's the relevant background experience of your team that can help create this product?
So I'll answer you the first part and then I'll answer you the second part. The first part would be what would be our moats. So basically, I believe we have moats in three main areas. The first one is our proprietary AI that adapts in real time. Every new student helps us refine the system further. So it's always getting smarter, and that's tough for anyone else to replicate from scratch. Additionally, we have filed 2 provisional patents for our core AI algorithm, reinforcing our defensibility. Secondly, our hybrid approach combines AI and human supervision. Competitions either go fully online or rely on traditional tutoring. We strike a balance between efficiency and personal interactions. So that really set us apart. And again, it's not easy for anyone just to come in and say that they want to do the same stuff. Third, and most importantly, we have built an integrated ecosystem where families enjoy a seamless experience. AI-driven lessons, coaching support, and transparency update all in one place. Once the parents see their kids thriving in this environment, it's very hard for them to switch to a patchwork of separate tools. That loyalty, along with our growing data set, creates a protective barrier around our business. And for the team, I'm certified in education facilitations, of course, expert in AI, hands-on experience with tuition industry as well, because I've taught for the past couple of years. So other part of my teams, as you have seen in the profile, we need tech. But right now, tech is mostly you have a CTO, a PM, and then you outsource, which should minimize every single thing. But operations side, because we are a physical learning center, you do need the hardware and software integrated, which we have an infrastructure veteran that is retired actually, but I pull him out. So meaning that he's very experienced and he will ensure glitch-free operations. Lastly, my wife is also certified in administrating a preschool, and with that experiences, she will be engaging as well as converting parents to the new the movement of what AI is disrupting the whole market. It's inevitable and it will happen.
Thanks. I hope it answers the question.
Put a full stop to it.
Okay, how is it related to Web3?
So yeah, I got the questions because it's physical. So the best answer for you that are Web3 crazies out there is basically, I'm going to put all the students' results into the blockchain. So like my daughter who has been having the results since 7 years old. Once it's in there, it's immutable. It will be forever there, even she's 28. Maybe she want to conceal it, but basically if she fail in math at the age of 8, we'll get to know it because it's in the blockchain. But just to elaborate on that, but just not the funny side, but the serious side. With that, we are able to do a reward system. We are going to do a point system. We are going to do NFTs given to the kids themselves, not only the physical toys. We are also able to reward the parents as well. We put the scores into the blockchain as well. So just a little bit of insight. I've been accepted to Singapore accelerator over here, which I'm going to get a grant from Singapore government for about 100,000. I'm also accepted in Open Campus, which is, they have a chain called EDU from Hong Kong. And recently we just got accepted by a G accelerator, which I cannot mention the name over video, but it's very high up there. So basically, yeah, I'm just, because we are a pre-seed, so I'm just going through the motions and the process of getting the angel investors that are in this field and like what we are doing and invest in this.
Eddie, thank you. I've got the last question to address to you. Don't you think that all this Web3 tech might be a bit daunting for the parents, might scare away the potential users? Because at this time you're not only educating kids but also parents in terms of using the platform. So don't you think that you overcomplicate the matter by introducing all this blockchain tech, Web3, NFTs? So how do you respond to that?
Thank you for your question, Ivan. So it's a very difficult question, but the simplest answer is that's the role of the startup itself, to make user friendliness as well as user experience into such a way that people are seamless, that, hey, the point system is actually in the blockchain, or hey, the reward system is actually given by a token. So that's the value as well as what makes the startup valuable, I suppose. And I hope that satisfied your side. So the burden of proof is not on the parents or the kids or the students. It will be on futureslearner.ai.
Okay, so the future starts now, obviously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Eddie, for your pitch. It was really interesting, really excited to hear more about you in the future. And you guys, if you want to keep track of our speakers' progress, be sure to check out all of the links in the chat and description, anywhere you can find it. So yeah, thank you so much for the call. Finally, I'm letting you go, guys. See you next time.